Chapter 14 on team leadership is a little different than the other chapters in the textbook. It focuses on one specific theory developed by Susan Cogler-Hill, and in fact the chapter is written by her, not by Peter Northouse. So let's spend this entire lesson trying to figure out this theory. Now, I have to admit, I think this is one of the best leadership theories there is. I've found it to be extremely useful, and I think it's a bit complicated, but I think it is worth understanding the different elements of to be able to better participate in teams and to make teams more effective. Okay, first of all, what are the defining elements of a team? What makes up a team? First of all, a team is a group of people, but not all groups of people are teams. A team is a group of people formed for accomplishing a goal. So that's the basic definition, is a group that has a goal that they're working to try and to accomplish. Now there's several characteristics of what's necessary in a team. First of all is the idea of interdependence. The idea that the success of individuals depends on the success of the team. If one individual can get everything right and do everything good and be successful but the others failure, that's not really teamwork. It's got to be that the success of everyone depends on the success of the team as a whole. Secondly, there needs to be this commitment to work together and to communicate regularly. If there's not that commitment to communicate, to collaborate, to coordinate, that's not a team either. And a third characteristic of a team, it needs to be at least in an organizational context, it needs to be accountable as a unit in a larger organizational context. So that's what separates it from an organization as a whole, is that within the organization you've got kind of like a mini organization, a team that's accountable to the organization as a whole. So those are what defines a team in an organizational context. So what do we know about research on teams? We know that team leadership is extremely important. The success of the team, whether the team experiences success or not, is highly dependent on the leadership in the team. And if there's good leadership, there's a good chance that the team will do well. If there's poor leadership, the team often won't do well. Now, here's a novel idea that most people don't think about. That leadership functions, the stuff done by leaders, can be performed in a team either by a formal leader that everyone recognizes, or it can be shared by team members. Maybe there's not even a formal leader, but the individual members can play a role and share the leadership in it. Or you can have a formal leader, but also the individual team members can also function as leadership. So this means that you can have distributed or shared leadership in a team. And that's what this theory focuses on, because that brings out some of the wonderful strengths of a team that can make teamwork more effective than individual work. So this also brings up what's known as a team leadership capacity. Who are the members of the team? What capacities, what abilities do they bring to the team to be able to lead the team? Does the team leadership capacity exist uniquely in the one leader, or does it have greater leadership capacity because of the different members who are in the team? So we're going to look at Cogler-Hill's team leadership model, and this model provides a leader or a team member who wants to provide leadership with a mental roadmap for help. Basically, this gives me some ideas to think about how I can help the team better function. It can help the team member or the leaders diagnose team problems and then take appropriate action to correct the team problems. So that's what this team leadership model is focusing on, is like, figuring out when there's a problem, what the problem is, and then figuring out what the intervention, what's the appropriate action to take to correct the team problem. So let's look at different parts of this model individually, and then we're going to put it together in the one big picture that's in the textbook at the end, because the one big picture is kind of complicated. Let's just look at some small elements first of all. So normally, someone providing leadership to the team, whether it's the team leader or a regular team member, basically monitors the situation until action is necessary. That means you don't need to continually be providing leadership in a team. You just need to watch the situation and find out, ooh, leadership needs to come into play here so that the team can function better. So once it's determined that leadership action is necessary, the team leader or the team member who's providing a leadership takes some type of leadership action, makes some type of intervention, intervenes, or makes some types of change is another way of saying that. They take action and then they evaluate team performance and development, look at how things have changed, and start the cycle over again. Aha, we've changed now. Do we need to keep on changing, or can we just keep on going like this until some further action is necessary? And so this makes a cycle of watching for a need for a change. If when there's a need of change, making the change, evaluate how the change has affected the situation, and continue monitoring the situation until it's time for another change. So that's a global framework of the time element that's involved, of monitoring, taking action, evaluating. And then we can narrow this down and look at some of the specific decisions that are involved in this cycle. So the first leadership decision that needs to be made, when should I intervene? That's the question. When should I intervene? Now, I could mean the formal leader, or if it's in distributed leadership, anybody that has any team member, or if the team is structured in such a way that the non-leaders can also provide leadership. The question is, when should I intervene? Now, this is an extremely complex question, and we're just going to focus on Larson and LeFasto's characteristics of team excellence to figure out when should I intervene. And Larson and LeFasto have done studies on what makes an effective team. So we can say that it's appropriate to intervene when we don't have one of the characteristics of team excellence, or several of the characteristics of team excellence are missing. So basically, if any of these things are missing, that means an intervention is appropriate. Now, what do we have here? We've got a clear, elevating goal. Teams need to know what they're doing, and they need to be elevating, uplifting, encouraging, something that people can get behind. And so team leadership, either the team leader or the team members, need to make it clear that there is this goal, this good goal that we're working for. It needs to have a results-driven structure. The way that the team is set up, the way that people communicate with each other, the way that decisions are made need to be focused not simply on making everybody happy or filling some administrative requirements, but be focused to get the results that are desired. You need to have competent team members, and this is super important. I'm sure you've all been on teams, perhaps in class, perhaps in our organizational setting, where you've got incompetent team members that just slow everybody down and reduce the quality. That doesn't work. In real life, incompetent team members are a drag and should not be included on the team because they can do more harm than good. You need a unified commitment to the goal, and so the leader needs to work so that everybody gets behind this goal that is being proposed. You need to have a collaborative climate. Collaborative means people are working together to achieve that goal rather than to try to get things for themselves, to compete against each other to get their own glory or their own achievements accomplished. Excellent teams have standards of excellence. They don't accept mediocre work. They push for extremely high quality products. They also have external support and recognition. People not on the team, especially hierarchical superiors in the organization, support the team and provide them with the recognition that they lead. And then they also have principled leadership. Now, principled leadership is similar to the idea of transformational leadership, where you have leaders that are committed to a vision with high morals leading to accomplishing that vision. So these are some elements of excellent teams, and you might be more familiar with Lencioni's The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Turns out that these are pretty similar to Larson and LaFasto's characteristics of excellent teams. So anytime that one of these characteristics is missing, it could be an indication that it would be a good time to intervene in the team and provide leadership. Now, there's other factors to consider. You might want to consider the personality of the leader. Some leaders are not going to want to share leadership with somebody else. They'll feel threatened, insecure. They'll crush anybody else who tries to exert influence in the group. In those situations, play it safe, just be a good team member, do what you're told to do. But that hopefully is an extreme case and not something that you would experience very often. I say wishfully. Leadership decision 2 is, when it's time to intervene, should I intervene either internally, inside the team, or externally with people outside of the team? So the leader must figure out what type of intervention is necessary. If it's internal intervention is needed, it's called an internal leadership action. And that would be, for example, if there's conflict between members or if the team goals are unclear. Those are things that the team needs to deal with within the team. But sometimes external leadership actions are necessary. For example, if the organization is not providing the proper support to the team, some type of external intervention with people outside of the team is necessary. Leadership decision number 3 is, do I need to intervene to meet task or relational needs? Now, this is a theme that we've seen all throughout this book, is that there's task behaviors, there's task focused styles, there's relationship focused behaviors. In fact, I think chapter 4 was on the behavioral approach to leadership, and it focused on leadership, or that is task behavior oriented or relationship behavior oriented. And depending on the needs, those are the type of behaviors, the leadership interventions that are necessary. For example, some task needs are we not getting the job done? That would be a need to focus on the task. Making decisions, solving problems, adapting to change, making plans, achieving goals are all related to task needs. But sometimes the intervention doesn't need to focus on what the team's actually trying to do. It needs to be focused on the relationships in between the members of the teams. For example, some relational needs in teams are developing a positive climate of communication and coordination, solving interpersonal problems between individuals so that everybody can cooperate together. Also, each member has separate needs. Maybe they've got pressures on the outside, maybe they've got limitations in themselves, and these need to be addressed and responded to for the team to function appropriately. And then also there's a general sense of cohesion and togetherness that needs to be developed, and without that, teams won't function correctly. Those are all relational needs. So the leadership decision the third layer is, do I need to intervene to meet task or relational needs? So what type of leadership actions can be applied? Well, let's look at first the internal leadership actions, things that need to be done within the group that can be either task or relational. Some task leadership actions, the interventions that can be done: goal focusing, getting people to focus on the goal; structuring for results, holding people accountable, giving people assignments that are appropriate to them so that we'll get the best possible results; facilitation of decision making. Do we have to have more meetings? Do we need to have meetings? Do we need to have more effective meetings? Do I need to get more input as a leader to make better decisions? Maybe training is necessary to deal with the different tasks that people are doing, or maintaining standards, clarifying what the standards are. Those would be task-focused leadership actions. But maybe we need relational leadership-focused actions. That could include coaching, coming alongside somebody, providing them the encouragement that they need to make; collaborating, getting together and taking into consideration each team member's concerns; managing conflict, trying to figure out what solution responds to the interests of as many people as possible; building commitment, satisfying need, modeling principles of integrity and ethics. So those would be some of the relational leadership actions that are necessary. Now, perhaps a leadership action, as we talked about previously, the first level was maybe we need some external leadership. So the interventions could focus on things that are in the environment around the team. That could involve networking with individuals outside of the team to gain access to other resources, advocating for resources to people that have them, negotiating support from others, buffering attacks, protecting team members from pressures from outside the group, assessing what the team's role is within the organization, and sharing information with others outside so they can better understand what they can do to support the team. So those are some leadership actions, either internal or external, and they can be either focused on the task or the relationship, or if they're external to the team, on the environment. So here in this final slide, we put everything together. So the leadership, the way that this is designed is that each box is kind of like a set of decision makings, and these lines, even though they don't have arrows, should all have arrows pointing downward on them. So the basic goal is to make leadership decisions, and then we've got this curved line pointing down to team effectiveness. We need to make leadership decisions that lead to team effectiveness. And that can be either in terms of performing the task that's necessary, or developing the team so they can perform even better in the future. So the leadership decisions begin with the decision to monitor, keep on looking at things, or to take action at the appropriate time, decide if we need an internal or external intervention, or a task or relational intervention. So here, in the internal leadership actions, we've got these task and relational interventions that we can do. If it focuses on the environment, what we need to do, that's an external leadership action, and we've got this list of environmental interactions. And all of these should, when carried out correctly, will lead to team effectiveness. So I really like Cogler-Hill's model for team leadership, because when you find yourself in a situation where the team's being dysfunctional, that means it's time to take action. Whether you're the team leader or you're simply a member of the team, to either provide an internal leadership action or an external leadership action that will affect the task, the relationships, or the environment to lead to team effectiveness. Now, you know that well, you probably know if you've been watching these videos that I teach at Azusa Pacific University, and we're a Christian university. We like to reflect on how some of these concepts relate to biblical concepts. Now, the concept of team and community is extremely important in the Bible, and one simple verse, one simple proverb is found in the book of Ecclesiastes, and it focuses on the relationship aspect of teams. Two people are better than one because they have a good reward for their work together. If they fall, one will lift up the other. And so this is just a simple illustration that when you're working together on a team, on a goal, things can go bad. But if you have got good relationships in a team, then the person that's doing well can help the person that's doing poorly so that both people are doing poorly. We need each other to be able to best function in life, and teams provide the perfect opportunity to do so.